Welcome to Mysteries and Mimosas, and thank you for listening. My name is Max, and with me is my wonderful wife and your co-host, Aria Sterling.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Aria. As usual, please take time to check us out on Instagram at Mysteries and Mimosas Podcast. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Any attention you give us helps us immensely. And if you're not into social media, please help us keep this podcast going by giving us a good rating and subscribe. Today's episode is from the year 2023 and 2024. Since Aria just answered some 2023 trivia questions, I'm going to run you through some trivia questions from 2024 this year. So they should be fairly easy. And just a reminder, typically we do a trivia segment from the year of the case we're covering. The idea behind our trivia segment is to mentally bring you back, our listener back, to the year of the crime by having Aria answer some of those trivia questions from that year. Shouldn't be too hard, right?
Shouldn't be, but we'll see.
We'll see. On February 6th, are you ready?
I'm ready.
For trivia? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to start looking at Wikipedia for a little bit first?
No.
Okay. First trivia question. On February 6th of 2024, what social media network, seen as a potential rival to the social media platform X, is open for public registrations, dropping its previous invite-only format? I have confidence in you, but I don't know. You're not a social media person.
I forgot the name of it. I know what it is, but I forgot what it's called.
Okay. Is it A, Instagram, B, Truth Social, C, Blue Sky, or D, Facebook?
Truth Social.
Oh, man, I threw that in there to trick you. It's Blue Sky.
Oh, okay.
Yep, Blue Sky is the... I've never even actually heard of Blue Sky.
I guess I haven't either. I was thinking of... What was I thinking of? There's another one.
I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you that the only reason you haven't heard of Blue Sky is because you didn't get the invite, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I'm not that cool.
Yeah, no, I guess not. Do you need Dion?
I did, but I'm good.
Okay. All right, second question. Man, you're off to a rough start. That was a tough question, though, and so I'm sorry I threw that in there, but this one I think you can get. On February 21st of 2024, which bank announced an agreement to acquire Discover Financial and its namesake credit card network for nearly $35 billion?
I have no idea. Bank of America?
Oh, man, that's a good guess, but no, it's not. It's Capital One.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I mean, obviously you didn't, but yeah, I hadn't heard of that either. That's interesting. Capital One is buying Discover. That's cool.
Wow, I need to get with the times. Apparently,
Yeah.
I'm not good at trivia in the past or the present.
Or the present, yeah. Oh, I think you're a little bit better at trivia from the past.
I
mean,
too.
based on this performance.
Yeah.
Kind of embarrassed for you. All right, third question. This one I think you can get. On March 21st, 2024, a man identified as Richard Slema received which organ from a genetically engineered pig at a Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, potentially leading to a medical breakthrough which could lead to the end of dialysis treatment?
Kidney.
Did you just guess, or did you know that?
Well, because dialysis.
Oh, yeah. There was a hint in there that you.
Otherwise,
you
I wouldn't
picked
have
up
gotten
on.
it. I wouldn't have gotten it if you didn't say dialysis.
Oh, you wouldn't have? What would you have guessed? From a
Heart.
pig? A heart? I know, because they have the same chambers
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't really do good in, geez, what would that be where you dissect a heart in high school?
Oh, like biology?
Yeah, I don't even know that I took biology.
I
I was
think you
more of
have
a
to take
life
biology.
science kind of guy.
Yeah, but I think biology is a requirement.
Well, not when I graduated. But
I
anyway.
think it was. Chemistry, maybe not, but biology, come on.
Next question. On April 4th, 2024, which disease spread to cattle herds in at least 6 U.S. states, which a dairy farm worker is infected in Texas, becoming the second person ever to be infected with the virus in the United States?
I don't know. I don't think I've heard about this either.
It's the bird flu.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't hear about that.
All right, are you ready for the last question? This one, I'm confident you'll get. On February 23rd of 2024, a high-altitude balloon was detected over which state prompting the deployment of fighter aircraft to intercept the object. The origin and purpose of the balloon are unknown according to U.S. officials, even though I think we know. Which state was the balloon first seen in? I'll give you a hint.
Washington?
I didn't hear you. I'm going to give you a hint. It is a state that we're covering today.
Utah.
It is Utah. Wow, you knew that. I'm proud of you. I'm just going to give that to you.
I remember the story. I don't remember what state it was.
Yeah, it was first seen over Utah. Well, thank you for participating in trivia. That was a pretty weak performance, if I must say so myself.
It was pretty bad.
It's kind of what our listeners have come to expect, right?
Yes.
All right, today's mimosa recipe is super easy. This is a personal favorite of mine. Guys, if you haven't tried any of our mimosa recipes, this is the one. This is by far my favorite mimosa recipe of all time, and it's so easy. Even Aria can mix this one without me.
Yeah, I'm not about that life. I like you to serve me my mimosas.
Yeah.
I don't make those.
You don't make those. No, you don't. Actually, what I know to be a good day is when I'm like, hey, what do you feel like doing today? And you're like, oh man, I feel like a mimosa. That's my cue to go get the champagne, get the mixers, bring it to you, and then you have a good day.
Yes.
That's your idea of a good day too, right?
Some days, yes.
Okay. All right. So for this one, the other day I was at the grocery store. I was looking for some good mixers for this episode, and I came across this cocktail mix. It's called Simple Sour Mix. And I guess this is some kind of a free advertisement because we're not associated with this mixture brand. But the brand of the mixer is called Stirring, Stirring. They have a bunch of different mixtures, but this particular mixture includes orange, lemon, and key lime concentrate. So all you have to do is just mix this stuff with your favorite champagne and you will not be disappointed. Isn't it the best mimosa you've ever had?
It's really good. It tastes like orange lemonade, if that's that makes sense.
It's like lemonade. It's like a lemonade mimosa with a hint of orange and key lime. Mm-hmm. It's really good. It's almost like a summer shandy lemon. That's what I'm going to call it. It's the summer shandy mimosa.
Ah, I like it. Yeah, it's really tart, but it's good.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even, I like tasting champagne. I like the taste of champagne, but in this one, you can't even taste the champagne. It's so refreshing.
Yeah.
So like I said,
it's good.
Yeah, if you're going to try any of our mimosa recipes, this is the one you have to try. So today's episode is from the small town of St. George, Utah. Located in the southwestern part of Utah, St. George is only about 2 hours away from Las Vegas, Nevada. St. George is known for its outdoor recreation. The city is surrounded by a stunning natural landscapes, including Zion National Park, Snow Canyon State Park, and the Red Cliffs National Conservation Area. These areas offer opportunities for hiking, rock climbing, mountain biking, and other cool outdoor activities. This episode isn't about St. George. Today's episode's about Courtney Townsend. Courtney is described as a very outgoing person with a bubbly personality who's always willing to help anyone in need. She's an extrovert with a huge heart who would do anything for anybody. Within the past year, however, Courtney fell victim to using drugs, which significantly impacted her life, causing her to do things she wouldn't ordinarily do. We were lucky enough to talk to Courtney's sister, Dallas, who you'll hear from later in this episode, and we got an inside look into the strange circumstances surrounding Courtney's disappearance. Just last year, in the early morning hours of November 16th, 2023, Courtney took her mom's car without permission. She later returned the car to her mom, at which point her mom warned Courtney that if she ever took the car again, she would be forced to call the police and file charges against Courtney. Of course, Courtney apologized and promised she wouldn't do it again.
That's a tough situation for a mom to be in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the last thing that a parent wants to do is have to call the police on their kid, right?
Right. But I think at some point, when you're starting to notice those things, sometimes you have to give some of that tough love. No,
you really do. And especially if it's to help them.
Right.
If the The short end is getting them in front of a judge or, putting them in jail. And the long end game is to, make them a better person and help them through a difficult situation. Then sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So because Courtney's mom was keen on Courtney's behavior change, she hid her own purse from Courtney in her office because she knew Courtney might be tempted to steal from her. She had done this a couple days earlier. You see, Courtney was supposed to be at her parents' house caring for her dad, who was sick at the time. Both Courtney and Dallas shared the responsibility to help care for their father, to help their mom out, because their mom was working a full-time job, so she couldn't care for her husband full-time. So she was really relying on Dallas and Courtney to kind of take some of that load on. Later that day, Courtney told her mom she was going to take a shower. She locked herself inside of her mom's bedroom. And because Courtney's mom thought Courtney was taking a shower, she didn't immediately check on her. Even though Courtney was inside the bedroom for several hours, she just thought she was taking a shower. Little did the family know, though, Courtney was inside the room collecting several of her parents' belongings. Before Courtney's mom knew what was going on, Courtney had taken her mom's purse and several sentimental items. She even got into their safe in the bedroom. She loaded up the car and she left. The unfortunate thing about this case, Courtney's family didn't have any method to get a hold of her. Because a few weeks earlier, Courtney threw her phone out of the car window when she was on the highway because Courtney thought that her husband was stalking her. So she got rid of her phone because she didn't want to be followed or tracked. So as you can imagine, Courtney's mom must be going through a lot of emotions at this point. I mean, this is kind of a recent behavior change, at least within the last year. She's stealing from her. She's taking her car. Lots going on in Courtney's life that this is kind of out of the ordinary for her.
And then on top of that, her husband, Courtney's dad is sick.
Right.
As well. And so she's trying to juggle working full time, caring for her husband, and then noticing that her daughter's having some significant issues. And I guess I would think she probably just felt helpless at that point. Like,
oh yeah. I've felt that way, when you have children going through a hard time and you want to help them. I can't speak to this personally to this level, but I know just behavior changes in teenagers and they act out of sorts from the little baby that you once knew them as. It is very difficult to try to cope with that and work through that and deal with that. And for me anyway, that's on a small level. This is on a pretty big level for Courtney's mom. And so she must be a really strong woman to be able to handle all this, So at this point, obviously, Courtney's mom was hesitant to actually call the police on her own daughters, so she calls Dallas and Courtney's brother for advice. Both of Courtney's siblings were able to talk their mom into calling the police because they knew that this was the only way to get Courtney's life back on track, was this, start of a procedure in the legal process to maybe get her the help that she needs through the judicial process.
Yeah. Kind of a last straw, right?
Yeah, final straw. You gotta just say, you know what, I'm done. At some point, you just have to show them that tough love to try to help them out.
As hard as that is, you know, as a parent, to watch your child struggling, and you have to make that decision, though. You
do, and eventually, Courtney's mom did call the police to report the car stolen, which, in my opinion, that is the absolute right thing to do. So at nearly the exact time that Dallas and her brother were talking their mom into filing the police report, Courtney's pulled over in Hurricane, Utah, which is about a half an hour northeast of St. George.
Oh, wow. So the car wasn't reported stolen yet. So when she was stopped, they didn't put two and two together because they hadn't made it into the computer yet. Wow. Exactly.
It hadn't been reported stolen yet when she was pulled over. But the interesting thing about the traffic stop is the police officer who pulled Courtney over, he said that he thought Courtney was acting weird. The only example we have about Courtney's strange behavior is the officer said Courtney offered to give the police officer a jewelry box to give to his wife.
That's interesting. But, I wonder why. Yes, that seems strange. Maybe that was normal behavior for her, though.
Right, because what is weird to some person might be normal to people closest to her.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe she was acting completely normal. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe she was acting weird.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that interaction, to see exactly what she was doing that
Right.
made him feel like, okay, something's weird right
Yeah.
now. Something's strange.
You know, some people would maybe wonder, well, why didn't the cop take her into custody right then and there? Well, we have to consider everything, right? I mean, first of all, the car is not reported stolen yet. So the police officer doesn't know that Courtney's in a stolen car. So he doesn't know that there's any criminal act other than whatever he pulled her over for has been committed.
Right.
Furthermore, officers can't just take people into custody because they're acting weird.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a whole lot more, right? I mean, there has to be a significant act to where this person is either making statements about harming themselves or others, or a criminal act to be able to arrest them. It's commonly referred to as an M1 hold when they act like they're going to hurt themselves or others, where they can say, okay, if I don't take this person into protective custody, which is what M1 means, this person could hurt themselves or hurt someone else.
Right. And that's just, and to explain that a little bit further, that's a 72-hour mental health hold
Right.
on someone. Yeah.
Yes, 72 hours. You're absolutely right. So 3 days later, on November 19th of 2023, approximately 2 hours northeast of St. George, some friends of Courtney's family, which is, I think, very coincidental. So some friends of the family were out hunting in the area of Duck Creek Village, Utah. While they were out hunting, they found the car Courtney took from her mom. The car was found high-centered on a pile of rocks, and it had been set on fire.
And no Courtney.
No Courtney. Yeah, I mean, this story just gets a little bit stranger as we go along. I mean, her behavior changed within the last year. You know, as we will learn from Dallas, you know, she started using drugs about a year before this happened. She's, you know, stealing from her mom. Presumably, I mean, my guess is, this is just my opinion, she's probably taking these items from mom to maybe pawn them, maybe get some money, something to kind of sustain that drug habit. And I don't know how far this drug habit went with her, whether it was, you know, a full-blown addiction, whether or not, you know, Courtney was just starting on this. But either way, you know, it just kind of shows you how a perfectly kind person who has their life on track can have everything just turned upside down by getting addicted.
Yeah. And I mean, that can go further too, right? I mean, that can start to cause mental health issues with people.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it definitely can. So once police responded to the location of the car, a general search was conducted of the immediate area where the car was found. The car was impounded and turned over to the insurance company and has since been destroyed.
So I'm guessing at the time then they weren't connecting that there was a missing person involved with this. They're just seeing this as a recovered stolen vehicle.
Right. And so my guess is, this is just from the law enforcement lens, I would think that they didn't expand their search immediately in that moment because they probably did think, okay, well, according to Dallas, and we'll hear from her soon, you know, they initially thought it was a BMW, so they didn't even know that this was Courtney's mom's car right off the bat. But once they figured it out, my guess is through that law enforcement lens, they're investigating an arson and a recovered stolen vehicle. And maybe they're thinking that Courtney's just the suspect of that. And so they don't really know at this point that something is wrong.
Okay.
So what happened next is on May 28th, so just not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, a witness was in the area on a four-wheeler searching for deer antlers when he came across a pile of clothing. Suspicious that the clothing may be related to Courtney's disappearance, the witness called the police and the search was expanded. When police looked through the found articles of clothing, which is presumed to be the clothing items belonging to Courtney, they discovered partial skeletal remains. Included in their discovery were 3 partial bones to include a portion of a lower human jawbone.
Wow, what an emotional roller coaster for the family, right? They see their daughter and their sister experiencing these behavioral changes. That leads to her beginning to steal from her parents,
Right?
ultimately stealing her mom's car, and then disappearing.
Well, stealing her mom's car, bringing it back, and then locking herself in the bedroom, you know, under the ruse of taking a shower and then taking personal belongings. leaving, having no way to get a hold of her because she ditched her phone several weeks earlier.
Right. And then finding the car burned.
Well, not only that, but finding out that she had been contacted by police and then finding the car burned, having no answers, for a long time. And there's another interesting piece of information that we will learn when we play our interview with Dallas that just makes this even more bizarre. And so this huge roller coaster of emotions has to be just taking a toll on the entire family. And I know it has on Dallas. I stay in contact with her and she's gone through a lot. And really, I just applaud her because the only reason, and this is my belief, the only reason that person on the four-wheeler really knew that might be related to Courtney is because of the efforts the family put forward to post this on social media and try to talk about Courtney's disappearance and really get it out there as much as they can so that people are aware.
Yeah, she's done a really good job of that, bringing that awareness to, the small communities in that area, because it's a rural area.
Yeah, it's kind of a remote area. I mean, obviously, the car's found by hunters,
Right.
who just happen to be, friends of the family.
Right.
And then these remains and this clothing is found by a person out hunting, antlers. And so, yeah, it's a remote area, but good for them for keeping this out there as much as they possibly can. And the frustrating thing for Dallas, and she'll talk about this, is that she believes that Courtney's not getting the attention that she deserves because she has mental health issues and because she, is addicted to drugs or uses drugs. And she feels as though, police aren't taking it as serious as they should, as they would if it were a person like an elderly person who's not addicted or a young child. And that's got to be super frustrating for anybody to have those feelings.
Yeah, it is. And we did talk to Dallas about that and how unfair that is, right? Because regardless of whatever situation Courtney was going through or, anybody is going through, we're all human and, we all deserve to be treated as such and her family deserves answers.
No, you're absolutely right. So even though 3 human bones were found near the car, police still haven't positively identified these bones to belong to Courtney. They only presume that it might be related to Courtney because it's found near articles of clothing that's near the car. Currently, DNA testing is being done in an attempt to identify these remains. So as of now, police are still unable to provide the family with any sort of positive identification, just adding to that emotional roller coaster. Like we said all those things on what happened, and now they're told that there's human remains that are found, and so they think that they might have, some sort of answer. But man, they're going to be waiting, 6 months to maybe even a year before DNA testing can even identify who this person is. They don't know that this is Courtney for sure yet.
Right. And then on top of that, with so little to go off of, how long is it going to take them to provide the family with answers as to what happened? If it does turn out to be her.
Well, exactly. I mean, yeah, because the difficult thing now is how are they going to, if that's all they come up with is 3 partial bones or 3 bones, I don't see how the medical examiner is going to be able to determine a cause of death. And who knows why those bones there's only 3. I don't know why there's only 3. I mean, we can assume that animals might have, moved them. Or maybe somebody, harmed Courtney, and that's why there's only partial remains. We don't know. And I don't know that the family will ever know, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
I mean, it's still very early on, and I hope that they can find some answers.
I hope they find answers too, and let's go ahead and listen now to the interview that we conducted with Dallas. We're very happy to have Courtney's sister Dallas with us today. Dallas, thank you for joining us. And despite everything you've gone through lately, you still made time to interview with us to get Courtney's story out there. And we really appreciate your time and your willingness to talk to us so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Dallas. I just want to start by asking you about Courtney. Can you kind of tell us what kind of person Courtney is and how you remember maybe what kind of relationship you had with your sister growing up?
So up until about a year ago, Courtney and I were pretty close. I mean, we lived our own lives, but we spoke often. Um, it changed a lot actually when she met her husband. Um, Courtney she's a really bubbly social person. She loves interacting with people. She's always on social media asking people questions or just saying hi or just socializing. That's just who she is.
Wow, sort of an
She's
extrovert.
Oh, definitely. I was always so jealous of my sister because of her being so social because I'm the opposite. I'm an introvert. I'm really big about my alone time.
Mm.
And she's just that's why she has so many people that are worried and concerned for her because these are all her friends, that people that love her, and that's because she's so social and she's a good person. If anything happened to anybody, if anybody ever needed any help too, she was always there. She helped me so many times when I fell down on my luck. Like she was always there for me too. So I know that she was the same way with other people.
Wow, so that just really speaks volumes to that, her being missing is super out of character for someone like Courtney.
Definitely.
Dallas, can you walk us through the day that your mom's Volkswagen became missing? Can you kind of tell us what that day looked like for you and the family?
So my dad had been really sick last year. And so me and my sister were both we have medical backgrounds. And so she took care of him more than I did, but I helped too, occasionally. But she was over there just about every day helping my mom care for my dad because my mom was still trying to work a full-time job and he required full-time care. So the day that she went over there, I don't know what was going on prior to the day leading up to it. I just know that she had been acting different. I know that she wasn't in a good state of mental state. She wasn't in a good state of mind mentally. Um, but she was dealing with a lot at the time. So, and then we found out also that she was not really sober either. So she was involved in some serious drugs.
Okay.
So I think the mixture of the two is kind of what caused all of this to even happen. You know,
Okay. Yeah. And
she wasn't making the right kind of decisions.
sure. Okay. And do you think that the drug use impacted your relationship with your sister?
In a way, yes, because we didn't talk to each other as much as we usually had.
Okay.
So she kind of just started doing her own thing, hanging out with different kind of people.
Yeah. And so the day that your mom's Volkswagen became missing, what happened that day?
So that she went over to their house in the morning, she took the car once, but she brought it back after a couple of hours. She said sorry to our mom, said she wouldn't do it again, and then my mom went back to work. Um, and my sister went into my mom's bedroom and we thought she was in there showering, but she was in there going through my mom's belongings and she ended up breaking into the safe and stealing a bunch of sentimental and valuable items. All while my mom was in her office. So while my mom was in her office working, she thought that my sister was just showering, and she takes forever when she showers, so it wasn't unusual. So then my mom came out of her office at one point while Courtney had stuff sitting out on the back patio. My mom thought she was going to throw this stuff in the trash, so she brought it back in and then told Courtney to stop going through her stuff and throwing it away. And uh, then she went back into her office. At some point, my sister found my mom's purse, which had her car keys and debit cards and cash in it, and she took that. And then my mom didn't notice at the time. So my mom was working, and then she went back out, and all this stuff and my mom's car was just gone. So my mom then called me asking me, like, what do I do? She isn't answering my phone calls. I can't get a hold of her. Like she didn't have a phone at this time. So any way to get a hold of her was through her friends.
So she not only couldn't get a hold of her, but if she were to be discovered missing right away, there's no way to even ping her location because she doesn't even have a device with her.
Exactly. You can't ping her location. Her phone, she had thrown it out of the window on the freeway driving because her husband was stalking her. She couldn't get away from the guy. So she threw the phone out the window. And that was a week before she went missing.
Oh, okay. So she was without a phone for a week.
Yeah. So like at first when she went missing, we thought maybe she just went on the run, to hide from her husband. Originally, that's what we were assuming. Um, but then when she just, the way our dad died in December, she would not have missed that. She was there for him the whole time, and then she just didn't go to him when he needed her the most, right? Her kids, she wouldn't have just bailed on her kids. There's no way. So we finally decided, like, no, I need to get more invested in this because something's not right.
Right. Wow. And so your mom really noticed the vehicle missing almost immediately because of Courtney's behavior.
It didn't take her long to notice. The car is parked right outside their main windows, and they have their windows open all the time, so they're always looking at the car. So yeah, she noticed it wasn't there right away.
And so I know that you mentioned that she took it earlier in the day but brought it back. Prior to this day, was it typical for her to take your mom's car and return it?
No, she never took the car. She always had her own way of getting around. She had her own vehicle. I don't know why she took the car that day. I don't understand why.
Okay. And so you told me that you had to kind of talk your mom into reporting it stolen. She was a little apprehensive at first.
My sister has issues with, like, she'll get in trouble with the police or something and then get a court date, and then she ends up missing the court date. And this goes back to her time management skills. Like, if you say be here at 2:30, she'll show up at 6.
Right.
So she always has been like that. She's like that with everybody. It's just who she is.
Yeah, some people are like that. I can relate because I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
I'm on my own program. I show up whenever I want, and so I get that.
Yeah. So that's how my sister is, and so the reason my mom didn't want to get the police involved is because she didn't want to cause her any more trouble with the police.
Sure. So it's almost you had to talk her into it for that reason, but it's almost like tough love from the family in order to try to help her.
That's exactly what I ended up telling her. I was like, Mom, she's going to keep doing what she's doing, because she was taking little things all the time. Like, she was trying to get access to my dad's prescription medications, and she was stealing his prescription cannabis. She was always trying to get money out of them. She was always stealing little things from them. But this day, she just kind of snapped.
Wow. Okay. And so when did you first realize something was seriously wrong?
I let her stay missing, thinking she'll pop back up for eventually. But then in January, when the police put up the missing persons flyer on their page on Facebook, I started to wonder, because if nobody's heard from her, they're putting this post on Facebook, and none of these people have heard from her, knowing how social she is, and nobody's heard a thing from her. So I started looking into it, and then I started getting more involved in early February.
Okay.
That's when I was like, okay, I know in my gut something's just not right.
Right. Yeah, and you kind of have to follow those instincts, right?
Right.
So your mom's car was found in a remote area of Duck Creek Village, Utah, which is about 2 hours away from St. George, Utah. Do you have any idea why Courtney might have been in that particular area?
So until recently, I couldn't tell you, but I just recently found out that her husband has a cabin in either Duck Creek or it's in Panguitch, Utah. They're near each other, so it's either in Duck Creek, Utah, or it's in Panguitch, Utah. I haven't been able to verify which, but he does have a cabin. So I wonder if maybe she headed up in that direction because she knows there's a cabin up there.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe that's why she was going up there. But the road that the car ended up on, there's no cabins. Not up where the car was found.
Okay. And was she familiar with that area? Would she have been lost?
She could have been lost. I don't think she was familiar with that area. We didn't ever go camping. I don't know of her to have ever gone camping out in that area. Like they went up to like Pine Valley in our area. I mean, she has experience camping and stuff, hunting and all that stuff. She would do that with her ex-boyfriends.
Okay.
So she has experience being out in the wild.
Okay. So it's bizarre, but not uncommon for her to be in that area.
Right. I guess, yeah.
Okay.
So, what was it like for you and your family when you learned that the police found the car?
Right. And the condition that it was in.
Yeah.
It was, this whole situation has been like a movie. Oh my goodness. My mom would call me up and tell me things that were happening. And I'm like, no way. Are you telling me this, Mom? You are making this up. Like, there's no way that this is not, there's just no way this is possible. Because when she called me and told me that my sister was stealing the car or had stolen the car, I was already in disbelief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after a few days, and I'm like, they still haven't found anything, and I was still more disbelief when she called me and she's like, they found the car. I'm like, oh, that's great. And she's like, it was set on fire, like burnt to a crisp, like it's just the skeletal remains. And I'm like, you're making this up right now. You're joking. Are you joking? You're lying to me. There's no way. She's like, no, it really was. It was found in on Cedar Mountain in Duck Creek. And I had no idea where that even was.
Oh, okay.
So when I found out, I was just awestruck. I was amazed. I was like, are you kidding me? So she stole your car, and then what? At first we were thinking bad thoughts. We were thinking like, how could she do this? Why would she drive your car up there and then torch it? Like, what is the purpose? Does she think she's not going to get in trouble if she burns the evidence? Like, does she know, like, you can't melt down an entire car? Like, we had other thoughts going through our mind at that time.
Thinking that she was responsible.
Right. That's what I was going to ask.
At first we thought she did something not the smartest thing. She wasn't making the best decisions. That's what that was our assumption.
Sure. So at this point, you're still thinking, she's, doing her own thing. She's okay, but, she's stolen your mom's car and tried to, burn the evidence. But you're still at this point thinking that she's okay.
Right. Right. At this point, we're still thinking she's okay. We're still thinking that she's just in hiding from like her husband and the police at this point.
So I know Courtney was pulled over in Hurricane, Utah. So what did you learn about Courtney's interaction with the police during that traffic stop?
Only thing that I was able to find out so far as of now is that she was alone in the car when they pulled her over. She was acting in an odd manner. She did inform them that she was on her way to Duck Creek.
Interesting. So she even told them that's where she was headed to.
Yeah.
You had mentioned previously, too, they don't really have any reason to hold her because at that time, the car wasn't reported stolen, right?
Right. It hadn't been, it was just barely minutes. If they had pulled her over even 20 minutes later, it would have had been reported stolen. They wouldn't have let her go. Sure.
And of course, if the police had any reason to believe that, she was, going to self-harm, or if she was acting erratic, or, any other reasons they might have been able to. Yeah, that's the thing is
that the detective that said that she was acting oddly, he's the one that said she was acting oddly. I'm wondering, did the officer that pulled her over not think the same thing?
Yeah, I wonder what that means exactly. How she was acting. What does oddly mean to them? Yeah, that's interesting.
When police interact with someone and they're acting oddly, quote unquote, they're trying to kind of do follow-up questions, try to figure out what's going on. And I'd be super interested to see that body cam too, to see.
Right. I feel like me and my mom need to see the body cam footage, because if anybody's going to be able to tell whether or not she was acting odd. My sister was a very odd person. So to other people, yeah, she might be acting oddly, but to us, it might be normal.
Okay, so it might be normal behavior for her.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, I see.
Yeah. And can you give us any example that you do know of how she's acting odd?
So she has mental health issues, definitely. I'm not going to list them all, but
Right.
she does have like PTSD. She does have ADHD. She's very spontaneous, spur of the moment. She doesn't really think things through. She just kind of does it and then deals with the consequences later.
Yeah. And didn't you say that when she was in that police contact, she tried to give the officer something?
Yeah, the detective, he told me that the detective said that the officer said she tried to give him like a jewelry box or something to give to his wife.
Yeah, and that does seem a
Yeah,
little bit
that's
odd for anybody.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a little odd, right?
for sure, yeah.
And just curious, do you know what jewelry box it was? Was it maybe something that she took from your mom?
I don't even know if it was a jewelry box or if it was the box that my sister had taken that contained the ashes of my mom's dog.
Wow. So that's one of the items
It's more
that
likely
she took.
that that's what it was, because my mom doesn't really have a jewelry box, and no jewelry box was recovered that I'm aware of.
Do you remember anything else that she took from your mom when she left the house?
Yeah, she took my dad's Navy medals, my grandpa's military medals, any coins. She stole their debit cards, credit cards, the wallets, the mailbox key, the dog's ashes. And then they had a bunch of camping gear too in the back of the car as well.
And when the car was found, was any of that stuff recovered with the car?
Some of it was, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, some of it was.
Wow. And can you tell us where the car is now? What happened to the car?
The insurance got it back, and my mom told me that they destroyed it. It's been destroyed.
Okay, so the police essentially, when they found it, what did they do? Do you know?
They just treated it as like criminal arson.
Okay.
And then they towed it off to an impound yard, and then the impound yard sent it back to the insurance because my mom had to file an insurance claim.
So, so at that point, obviously the car had been reported stolen. So the police are thinking this is a stolen vehicle that's been torched. That's what they're investigating it as. At the time that the car was found, had anybody reported Courtney as missing yet to the police?
So the police knew, but I guess she wasn't technically reported as missing until December.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But she had taken the car on the 16th, and nobody had seen her since the 16th. And the St. George Police Department were aware of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Wow. So most likely they were investigating a recovered stolen vehicle that had been burned, and they didn't really know that they were looking for somebody that might be missing or in danger.
Well, I mean, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when did the search efforts for Courtney expand away from that car?
Not until May.
Do you know why it took so long?
Well, because they kept giving us the excuse that the snow had to melt first.
Interesting. And do you know what the snowfall looked like up there in May?
In May? No, there's no snow.
No snow, yeah. And are there any current search efforts going on that you know of?
So I'm going up there tomorrow with someone who's from Red Rock Search and Rescue out of Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
A group of us are going up there tomorrow. We need to find her skull.
Okay, can you tell us more about that?
So the original search that the police did, they were not going to do yet because according to them, they were waiting for the snow to melt. But in between that time, every month, even multiple times a month, I went up to Duck Creek to see for myself how much snow was actually there, because I feel like it snows there. They should have resources for that type of situation. It shouldn't matter if there's snow on the mountain. I'm sorry, but I don't take that as a good excuse. So anyways, I kept going up there. And then finally we went up there in April, and there was about a foot of snow left on the ground. We went again in the beginning of May, and there was no snow. So I created an event on Facebook, and I told everybody, I'm like, I need volunteers. We're going to go search the area where the car was found, since the police won't do it. So then the police called me, and he asked me to postpone my search until they do their search. So I asked him when exactly that would be, and he said within the next week or two. And I said, fine, that's great, that's perfect. You can do your search. I'm not doing mine until May 19th. So you have 3 weeks. That's plenty of time.
Sure.
So that's why they did their search when they did their search.
Can you tell us how much time passed from when the vehicle was located until something else was found?
6 months.
And what was found, and how did that come about?
So something else was found in February, actually, but it was found locally. It was found in town in St. George at the animal shelter in the back of a city truck. It was a backpack, and it had my niece and nephew's birth certificates in it and social security cards. It was my sister's bag. It had her information.
The birth certificates, your niece and nephew, just to be clear, that's Courtney's kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the backpack that was found in the back of a city truck at the animal shelter, that came up, that was found or discovered in the beginning of February, which is about the same time that I started making a big deal about my sister being missing. Wow. And I was fighting with her husband also as well.
Okay, can you tell us more about that?
Well, we were arguing because on the St. George Police Department page, on their missing person flyer post for my sister that they put up on June 8th, they added in this flyer that she had mental health and drug addiction issues. Every single comment on that post from everybody was the fact that she's mentally unstable and she's into drugs. Her husband was commenting. He was playing the victim, and he was victim blaming her. He was lying. He was playing to be the victim. Like, how did this happen to me? Poor me. Like, he wasn't even, nobody focused on the fact that she's still missing. Like, can we focus on that one thing?
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, so that was frustrating for me. And he kept telling everybody the screenshots I get from everybody that he's communicated with is all this exact same words, the same story. And so it's scripted. He was saying some of these same exact things on this post, and my brother was arguing with him on the post too, but my mom made him take off a lot of what he said. But the things that the husband was saying, he's so suspicious to me and to a lot of other people as well. But he kept saying things like, I would never lay a hand on her. I would never hurt her. I love her. She's everything to me. I worship her. But he's a liar, and I know he's a liar because I was at the hospital the one time when my mom got a call from my sister when my sister was driving around town because he was following her, and she couldn't find a place to go, that he couldn't find her. She didn't know where to go. And so that was on one occasion, and then a couple weeks later she called my mom crying, begging my mom to go with her to the ER because she thought she had broken ribs because her husband beat her. And she didn't want to go to the ER by herself. She didn't want him to get into trouble.
Wow.
I also have a recording of a conversation I had with the one of her friends that she was living with when right before she went missing about her husband going to their house and breaking into their daughter's bedroom on 2 separate occasions to get to Courtney while she hid in a closet, like trembling in fear.
Did he ever report her missing, or was your mom the only one that made the police
No,
report?
it was my mom that's done me and my mom. My mom was the one that reported her missing.
Okay.
My mom and one other person, my sister's best friend. She was witness to him making statements such as, I will kill you and bury you in the mountains where nobody will find you. They have not she's reached out to the police multiple times to try and get them to look more into the husband because she was witness to it. She was witness to my sister telling her that if anything ever happened to her, it was that psycho Ryan, quote unquote.
Wow. So I want to go back just for a second to the backpack that was found. And it was found in the back of a city truck. Do you know where? I mean, did an employee find it and pick it up and put it in the back of that truck? Do you know how that got there or where they
No,
found
here's the
it?
thing. Nobody knows where it came from. Nobody knows when it got there. Nobody knows who put it there. Nobody knows at what time it was put in there. They don't have cameras, and it's a city truck that they don't use often. Those are
Wow.
the words from the detective.
That is so strange. Okay.
So here's the thing about the bag that I'm confused about. I would like to know the answer to is if my sister, if she had died on that mountain in November, how did the backpack with her belongings show up in February?
Right.
Why would it show up in February? Why was somebody trying to make it look like she was still alive?
Yeah, that's
Are you telling me
interesting.
that somebody put that bag in that truck back in November or even further back and they didn't find it until February?
Yeah, that's definitely curious.
And so on the 28th of May of this year, 2024, there were some remains found, and the news agencies are reporting that that investigators believe it to be Courtney. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So they're saying they believe it's Courtney because the belongings they found around the remains that they found belong to my mom and Courtney. So they were able to get some items back to my mom because they knew they had her name on it and stuff. So that's why they're assuming it's Courtney.
But they haven't made any positive identification on the remains to be Courtney yet.
Correct.
Do you know what efforts they're
Correct.
doing to make that identification?
So right now the medical examiner isn't able to do very much because it's not a lot of remains. It's literally 3 little bone fragments. It's a tiny, like a maybe 2-inch part to the jaw, the lower jaw, maybe.
Okay.
I haven't seen the report yet. So I'm not 100% sure what parts they got, but I do know they did get a piece of the jaw and 2 other bone fragments that are human bone fragments. And the medical examiner can't make a positive identification based off of it. They're gonna do DNA, but that could take up to 6 months. They're gonna get a bone specialist to look at them to see if they can identify through the bones. To help with the DNA process, I guess, something like that. The medical examiner did contact. She called Detective Chamberlain from Kane County and asked him if they're able to find other remains because they need them to identify the body and to identify the cause of death. He said that they are working on it, but they have to wait until the snow melts before they can go do another search of the area. I swear on my life, there is no snow on this mountain.
So how were the remains discovered? Was that during a
So I
search
guess
or?
an individual was out hunting for antlers.
Okay.
And I have been making a big deal about my sister's case. I've been posting it everywhere on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Reddit, on Twitter, on anywhere, YouTube, everywhere. I've been emailing everybody. I've been trying to get everybody involved. One of the pages that I had been getting involved and posting to is Duck Creek Village News page.
Okay.
And it's just for the community of Duck Creek, basically. So I asked if I could join the group, and they let me in. And then I told them why, and I have been asking them for their help. I let them know. They knew that we were doing a search, so they were aware that there was a missing woman, and her body could be out there. They knew about the police search, and they knew about our search. And then, so the person that was hunting for these antlers, or I think it's a she, it could be a he. I've been told both. So whoever it was said that they came up on some clothing that they thought might be associated with the missing girl. So they contacted the police, and the police came, and they discovered the remains inside the clothing. Yeah, and they said it was because they knew that they had heard about the Courtney Townsend case.
Wow. And I just want to give you a shout out for all the work that you've put in to make Courtney's case known. We did a case episode on Kelsey Smith out of Overland Park, Kansas, and had her parents on as the homicide survivors. And the one thing that they both say is, it's up to the family and the loved ones to really make as much noise as they can to bring attention to the victim, because otherwise you can't rely on anybody else to do that for you. And you've done just that. That you've done exactly what they
honestly, and
say.
That comment, that it's true. There's so much truth in what you just said, because I have been doing so much work to find my sister and to get answers. It's like a full-time job. Nobody pays me to do this. I do this of my own free will, right? And the thing is, you depend on the police to help serve and protect and help you find answers when things like this happen, and they have done nothing.
Yeah, that's so frustrating.
It's not until I go and make threats that I'm going to do something, then they get the going, the gear shifts. And they're like, oh, wait, maybe we should do this.
Right now, I think the unfortunate part of everything is you and your family really have no answers. You don't know.
Every time we think we're getting somewhere, we hit a wall. We go 2 steps forward and 20 steps back. We're always back at square one. We don't have any answers to any of the questions. And people have good questions.
Yeah.
That deserve answers.
Yeah. And well, let me just ask you, you've been through so much since November. It's probably been just a crazy roller coaster of emotions. What advice do you have for anybody that might be in your shoes when they have a loved one go missing, and even under the circumstances?
Don't give up. Don't take a minute. You can't give yourself a break. Yes, but I had to be on my sister's case constantly. I was emailing people. I was posting on our Facebook page. I was messaging people on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, anywhere. I was posting every single day, every day. I got people to do podcasts that are just little people, but they might be only followed by 20 people, but that's 20 more people than you had before.
Right.
Don't give up on your loved one is what I have to say. Do not stop. They will listen eventually. But don't let them brush you off. Don't let them put your loved one on the back burner. Don't let them turn into a cold case. That's not right. It's not fair. And they need to do their job and assist us. This is what they get paid to do. Mm-hmm. Don't let them bully you or make you feel like you're less than just because they're the authorities. Make them listen.
Yeah. And Dallas, obviously, I'm a detective in real life. And so for that reason, I'm very pro-police. But the one thing that I'm not going to do is sit here and make excuses for a department that I know absolutely nothing about. So whether they did everything by the book and they think they're doing a great job, just based on what you said just now, I think they definitely are letting you down. because you shouldn't feel that way as a victim.
Right.
Of course. I agree with you. And so does everybody.
Right.
Everybody
Yeah.
who's been going through this with me, everybody's been so frustrated.
Yeah, and I can tell you, just being in law enforcement, that sometimes you have community members that you're serving that are over the top and just, want everything over the moon that's unreasonable, and it doesn't seem to be the case here with you.
No, not at all.
Everything that you're saying seems completely reasonable. Asking them to search, wanting to get answers, wanting them to do, more in an investigation. The only thing that I would ask, have they given you anything such as, hey, we can't tell you that because we're doing an active investigation?
He has said that twice, but
Okay.
instead of saying that to me, he flat out lies to me.
Well, that's unfortunate. I mean, whether or not, that's the intent behind what he's saying, he's making you feel that way, and that's not okay.
If my sister had been LDS, or if my sister had been a kid, a child, or even if my sister had been an elderly woman, they have alerts for all of those. All those people would have been found. There's been a few other missing persons cases that's come up recently, because I follow a lot of the pages now for my sister. Up until now, that's what I was looking for, answers, right?
Right.
So I follow a lot. And when a news outlet like Fox News covers a really small missing person story, it still sucks. Yeah, don't get me wrong. But they make a bigger deal out of it. And it makes me mad, because I feel like the fact that the police department added that she's mentally unstable and she has drug addiction issues, that means she's less of a person. It's been so hard for me to get the news involved because of what they've said.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's not okay ever, right? Everybody deserves, we're all human beings, right? Regardless of what our background is, none of us are perfect. And so, yeah, that is a huge pet peeve of mine, for somebody to say, oh, well, this person was involved in drugs, so, let's focus over here. I mean, it's not okay. Your sister deserves just as much justice and, just as much effort in finding her as anybody else does.
As anybody else. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, in Dallas, I teach new police officers that are coming out, in the academy, coming out to be, cops. And the one thing that I always tell them every chance that I get is, when you encounter the person with those severe mental health issues, or that person that's addicted and passed out in their car, for example, all you have to do is humanize with them by thinking, that could be my kid one day, and how would I want an officer to treat my kid if they are addicted or they are struggling with mental health issues? And if you live by that rule, then you're always going to be doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I live my life. I look at everything like that. How would I feel if that was me?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, everybody, people can have issues, whatever, but you have to look at that person and know that there are people that love that is their loved one. They love that person, and they care about that person, and that person deserves to be treated with just as much as respect as anybody else.
She does. She does. It's not right. It's not right at all. It doesn't sit well. And I've been doing all of this mostly not just for my sister, but also for my mother. Because my dad, he passed away in December. So my mom is now dealing with possibly losing my sister as well. On top of that, she lost her best friend, the love of her life, and now she lost her baby.
That's
Right.
a lot of
And
grief.
she's not getting justice for it.
Yeah. I was going to mention that. I can't even imagine how hard this is on your whole family, and especially your mom, because she did just lose her husband. And now, now her daughter's missing, and she doesn't have any answers. And so I don't know how, you all are handling that. But I mean, being there and doing what you're doing, I think it says a lot about your family and who you are, and being there for Courtney and making sure that, you find justice for her, you find answers.
Yeah. And so, Dallas, we really, really appreciate you coming on. Everything that you've said and the energy that you bring. You know, I hope that you have the strength to continue doing that until you get the answers that you're looking for. So hopefully you continue to do podcasts. Hopefully you continue to talk to the news, and hopefully you continue to just put those efforts forward. We really appreciate your time, and, you know, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for spending that time with us.
Oh, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
You're
like
welcome.
aggressively. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you so
much. Thanks for
much.
even like texting me all the time and just talking to me and being willing to hear my story, because my sister has been my main focus for so long. I need her to get the answers she deserves to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys. You're the best.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're very welcome.
Well, there you have it. And we really appreciate Dallas coming on and giving her perspective into the disappearance of her sister, Courtney Townsend. And unfortunately, we do have an update since we recorded this episode. Dallas informed us that the remains found only 0.6 miles away from the vehicle has been identified as her sister, Courtney. The medical examiner has identified the remains to positively be that of Courtney, based on dental records found within the partial jawbone that was recovered. We will continue to give you updates as we learn more information, because at this point, all we know is that Courtney has been identified, but we still don't know what happened to Courtney, why her remains are there, and all the circumstances surrounding that. And if you have any information about the disappearance of Courtney Townsend, please call the St. George Police Department at 435-627-4300. All right, well, thank you for participating in this. You did a phenomenal job as a co-host. Thank you for participating in this episode of Mysteries and Mimosas and talking about Courtney and doing the interview with me. I really appreciate all of your help, Ari. You're doing great.
Thank you. Thanks for the acknowledgement.
Yeah, maybe next time, this acknowledgement, I keep giving you affirmations and just positive juju, hoping that next week will be the week that you get 100% on trivia. I'm really rooting for you.
It's going to happen eventually.
One of these days.
The odds are it has to happen at some point.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think if you put it out there in the universe and you're just like, I'm gonna beat Max at trivia, if you just intrinsically think that, it's bound to happen.
So I have to prepare for it, is what you're saying. I
don't want you to cheat. I never said that I want you to cheat. So...
No, I said prepare myself.
Okay, but I kind of saw the wheels turning over there that you're like, okay, I got to study.
But
okay.
I wouldn't be able to. I don't know I have no clue what you're going to ask me.
Well, until next time, let's go ahead and just raise our glasses and toast to Courtney. In the meantime, like I said, if you have any information, please reach out and provide that.
Cheers.
Cheers.